Hello, I'm Karma Kitaj, and I'm your host for Alivelihood, New Adventures as We Age. And today I'm going to introduce you to Leni Webber. And Leni has a business, which we'll talk about briefly, but the reason she's here today is because she also does two very wonderful things with her life now. What are those wonderful things, Leni?
Well, thank you, Karma. One wonderful thing I do is sing. I started focusing on my singing probably about 3.5, almost 4 years ago now, after not singing for many, many years, though I had sung in my mid-20s. So that's one thing that I do. And the other thing is I'm a competitive runner. So I do a lot of running in national races. I'm part of a wonderful club called Liberty Athletic Club, which is a women's running club. And so we compete in a lot of races.
Yeah. So people of a certain age, right, don't usually start running as you did. But so let me know about that. How did it come into your mind that you wanted to run?
Okay, well, I had run in my 30s and into my early 40s, but just kind of ran like everybody runs, and 3-4 miles,
Just
that kind of thing.
For exercise.
Yeah, and I did compete in some races, but was certainly not competitive about it. And then what happened is I started training with a coach who's also a friend of mine, and her name's Kathy Schneider. But I've been training with her for about 16 years now, and the whole emphasis when you work with her is on really setting goals and trying to achieve them in running, although it can spill over into other areas. So over those years, I've basically gotten faster and faster. If you kind of factor in growing older and you take that into account, there's still a way to sort of measure how fast you are compared to other people at your age group. So my running's improved.
Yeah. So I think you told me that when you first started competing, you were in the 65th percentile or something, and now you're more like the 85th?
84th, 85th, yeah, right. Yeah, my highest age graded, they call it age graded result, was close to 85% last September.
Wow. So do you have a goal to even get higher than that? Is that possible?
Well, I don't know if I'll be able to get higher than that. That is considered national level. 90s would be world level. So I think I'll settle for the 80s, the national. But I keep training. Who knows?
Okay.
Who knows?
So do you travel all over the United States?
Yeah, I mean, it isn't like I'm on an airplane every other weekend, but we do look for races that, and we'll go to where the race is. So I've traveled to Sacramento for national races. I've traveled to the South. Last summer we went to New Brunswick for the North American Worlds. So I go where the race is.
Wow. So, I have no idea what you even do to train for this high level.
To improve?
Yeah.
You want to run a certain number of miles a week, but it might be a lot less than people might think. And my coach is also doing a lot of research on this. I mean, she has a doctorate in researching women in older ages competing. And so the results are that you really don't have to run as many miles as people might think. I run about 25 miles a week. And the other part of it is to do exercise to strengthen your muscles, etc. And then you do what are called threshold runs, that you run at a high peak, a high intensity, maybe for short periods of time. So there are strategies which help you to get faster. Yeah. And the other thing I will have to say is being a part of this women's running club, and it doesn't have to be all women, this just happens to be the club I'm with, and it's a very good club. There's like a camaraderie and a support system. We just had a race, the National 10K outdoor. It was held in Dedham just last Sunday. It's called
Massachusetts.
Yes, it's called the James Joyce Ramble. And my team that I was a member of, age 65 through age 69, we came in first in the country. There were 3 of us. And so being a member of this Liberty Running Club is really helpful too.
So when you train, when you do, what do you call it, your threshold?
Right, that's one part of it, yeah.
Yeah, do you often train with your team?
No, not really. I often train alone, or I'll have a certain number of workouts I have to do a week. And sometimes it's better to do the workout on your own because other people aren't doing the same workout, or it can be distracting. But if I have to do a long run, which sometimes I run 8, 9 miles, whatever, it's a lot more fun to do it with some other people.
Others, yeah.
So so that's it. Working with them to make sure that on those long runs I'm with some people is really good. And then sometimes we have practices every Tuesday night. I don't always make those, but that's another place where we run together.
And are there, you said you've worked with a coach for years and years. So what does she teach you?
Well, I guess
it's a secret.
It's not really a secret. I mean, she's written a book called Move, M-O-V-E, but I'm chuckling because it might not be what you think, because it's not about necessarily the workouts, although the workouts are very important, but it's about setting realistic goals and then achieving them based on the concept of it takes 10,000 hours or 10 years of training to really achieve something meaningful. So it's about setting doable goals and reaching that goal and then getting to the next level. So it's about support and accountability. And I really do believe, and I brought this kind of into my singing career too, that you can achieve a lot just using these ideas of setting reasonable goals, achieving them, and then moving on to the next level. So that, I think, is more important than people might think.
Yeah, so I was going to ask you if you think that your running has had ripple effects in the rest of your life.
Yeah, it's had ripple effects in many ways. Well, I changed careers slightly. I sell insurance, but for many years I was selling a lot of different types of insurance, life insurance, disability insurance, health insurance, and was sort of spread around. And then at a certain point, I got out of that and began focusing solely on long-term care insurance. So I took a little bit of my running training into that in terms of what do I do best, what can I focus on, where am I going to have maximum impact, and where can I be most effective for, and personally, what did I like the best too. But the other areas it's had effects would be my son, who struggled a bit in his teenage years and was really unfocused, etc. I think through him watching me train all those years, he became a very, very competitive runner too. And I think that watching me work hard and seeing what I could achieve had a ripple effect on him.
Yeah, so you were a good role model for him in that way, huh?
Right, yeah. And then on the singing, well, I mean, I could talk about that too, how it's spread to that in terms of just making a plan of, for example, design a website by such and such a date, call this many party planners or organizers planners to spread the word by this date, perform X number of open mics by this date. So setting tasks and then achieving them has been something I've taken.
Interesting. So you really applied that same method you're saying, to your singing career.
Right, right. And it's sort of the idea, if you would have told me when I first started running that I would be running at a national level, there's no way I would have thought that was possible. I mean,
now, did you see yourself as being a competitive person?
Probably if you asked my friends, they wouldn't be that surprised. I mean, that I would be competitive about running, because I am a competitive person in a way, but I had never really brought it to the world of athletics. You know, I had never thought that, I sort of thought runners were born, you know, and I think people might think that about a lot of things too, like singers are born, or insurance people are born, I don't know. But
yeah, you mean that it's just an innate
but particularly with
something.
Athletics, I think there's kind of, and let's face it, I mean, there's things called fast twitch fibers that some runners have, or there certainly are some genetic variabilities that will help you. But hard work, realistic goals, all of that, you can go a long way with that. So.
Which applies to anything, right?
Right. It does.
Yeah.
Yeah. And not knowing, I guess where I got a little sidetracked was not knowing where the end will be. You don't know exactly where you're going to end up. Yeah, so.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like, well, you're not ended up yet, right?
No, I hope not.
You still have a ways to go.
Yeah, right.
So you might end up someplace that you've never imagined.
Right. And I was just thinking, as I said that, that's almost the opposite of setting goals in a way. Because you do have to have goals. And you don't have to do anything, but it helps to have goals. And I have found it helps to have big goals. So it's almost like I like to have big goals, but I don't like to rule out anything either that you know could happen.
Yeah, it's interesting that you say that about big goals, because I'm a life coach, and one of the things we do as a life coach is to encourage people to think big, with the assumption that people often really think too small, or they put themselves down. They think they really can't do that much.
Right, right.
So.
And people pick up from you, I think, what you portray and how you portray yourself, that comes across. So I think of myself as a professional singer. And I have to say that shift only happened maybe within the past year, for a variety of reasons, I think. But now that I think of myself that way, it's kind of shifted how I approach different situations.
Right, yeah. Well, I mentioned to you a little while ago that I recently started making art. And in the first few months, I would say, I've been experimenting with my creative self. But now, 2.5 or 3 years later, I say, well, I'm an artist.
Yeah.
It's funny.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah. So let's talk about your singing. And I know you have a song waiting for us, right?
I do.
And let's get to that in a moment, though, because I know you said that you did sing early on in your 20s, right? And you sang with a group, and you loved that. But then there was a long spell where you really didn't sing that much, huh?
Except to my car radio.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what brought you back to it?
I've always been musical. My family was musical. And I've always loved singing, but I wasn't doing anything professionally or even at all, hobby, nothing, for a long time, and except singing really loudly to my car radio. So really, it was when I went to see James Taylor at Tanglewood with my husband 3 or 4 years ago, and he was singing, and I was singing along with him at the top of my lungs, trying not to annoy too many people around me, and then I just turned to my husband and I said, I'm going to take singing lessons. And that was it. So had that been brewing underneath and bubbling around, who knows? All I know is I recommend if you want to sing Going to Go hear James Taylor. Maybe it'll do the same for you. It did for me. So that's really what started it.
Okay.
And then I went to a music camp a year after that, which was really helpful out in California. And so different things happened after that.
So you've just been following your own star with these things, huh? Just doing it.
Right. I don't know any other way to do it, frankly. I mean, if I had somebody directing my life, it'd be good, but unfortunately, it's up to me.
Yeah.
Or fortunately.
So I know you sing in a lot of different genres, right? And what's the song that you're going to sing for us today?
I'm going to sing a song called Give Me One Reason, and Tracy Chapman recorded this. And usually I'm playing with a band or an accompanist, and today I won't be, so
it will sound a little different.
It will sound a little different
when you perform, huh?
Right. And I like the chemistry of the working with other musicians, but so I sing, this song is a blues song, and I really like blues and rhythm and blues and soul, but I also like pop, I sing rock, and I sing a lot of jazz. So it's a variety of genres, but.
Well, terrific. We will listen to you now.
Okay.
Okay.
As Karma said, this song is a song that was written and recorded by Tracy Chapman. In 1995, she won a Grammy for this song. It's one of my favorites. Give me one reason to stay here, and I'll turn right back around. Give me one reason to stay here, and I'll turn right back around. Said I don't want to leave you lonely. You've got to make me change my mind. Your number, and I know that you've got mine. You know that I called you many times. You can call me, baby, you can call me anytime. You got to call me. Turn right back around. You can see me turning. Said I don't want to leave you lonely. You got to make me change my mind. I don't want no one to squeeze me. They might take away my life. I don't want no one to squeeze me. They might take away my life. I just want someone to hold me, rock me through the night. That's why I say, give me one reason to stay here, and I'll turn right back around. You can stay. I say, give me one reason to stay here, and I'll turn right back around. Said I don't want to leave you lonely. You've got to make me change my mind.
So that was a lovely song.
Thank you.
And as we said, you didn't have your usual background, your accompanist, but It sounded great from where I was standing.
Thank you, Karma. Good to have you there.
Yeah, and I know you've played at some good places around town here, right? In Cambridge at Riles and
Right, Riles, Johnny D's, a place called the Lily Pad. Yeah.
and you also play for private parties, right?
Private parties, yeah.
So if people want to reach you for a private party, they should go to your website at leniwebber.com, right?
Right, leniwebber.com. That will do it.
Yeah. So, you know, when you and I talked the other day, you were talking about taking risks. I thought that was interesting. So in what ways do you see that you've taken risks in your life?
Well, we didn't even talk about the fact that I actually started out as a social worker and then changed careers to the new field, which that was a risk. That felt like a big risk for me to change. And
how did that happen, that transition?
well, I basically, I was stuck for a long time thinking I needed to figure out what my next sort of career or job was going to be. But after being in social work for a long time, or maybe 12, 13 years, I finally came to the idea that I just had to sort of stop doing that and do anything. So I ended up working at a friend's computer store for a year or two while I figured out what my next step was. So I just did it. I just kind of jumped into the void.
Yeah.
And
Do you remember what that was like for you?
well, actually, by the time I did it, it wasn't so bad. It was actually getting to that point and before that was harder. And I went on a million informational interviews, and I was all caught up in trying to figure out what my next great move would be. And it was more like once I decided I didn't need to do that, then the actual leaving wasn't really quite as bad as I thought it would be.
Okay.
So
I think you told me you grew up in a family with social workers.
right, both my parents were, yeah.
And so you kind of fell into it.
I did.
But you recognized that it wasn't such a good match for you?
Right. And I mean, I think it's really hard for people in their early, mid-20s to know exactly what they want to do. I mean, some people are fortunate and they do, but for a lot of us, it's sort of, well, gee, my parents did this, I think I could probably do that, or it's sort of something we fall into, and that's what happened to me.
Yeah, right. So you made a very big transition then to the insurance industry.
Right,
huh?
right. And that was good because it afforded me a lot of flexibility and freedom, which later when I was raising a family, well, my son, it was really good to be able to have that flexibility.
Yeah, right. So do you see yourself as a risk taker?
Yes, I do.
In what ways?
Well, even, I'll get back to the running, but going to like my first national race, and when I had my toe on that starting line, and I actually wrote something about this, as far as I was concerned, my race was over. Just that I had shown up there. Just that to show up and do it. Everything else was like I was going to get the time I was going to get, but the hardest thing was just being there and doing that. And then I ran the race and it was good. So that was a risk. Singing, I mean, I enjoy singing. I love singing. And so that's not exactly risky for me as it might be for a lot of people, but I still get nervous. I get nervous. And so I'd say just doing that, getting in front, and knowing you might not remember the words, etc., that feels somewhat risky to me.
Yeah. And you play guitar also?
I play guitar and piano, yeah.
So do you sometimes accompany yourself?
Once in a while, once in a while. I'd like to do more of that, actually. I'd like to do more of that, but that's sort of like how much time do I have to, do I start taking piano lessons again? You know, so that's kind of percolating in the back. But right now I'm just concentrating on the singing and really trying to find other musicians to play with. That's really what I want to do. I have people that I play with, but I would really like to have a full-time band, a blues band. See, that's my newest goal. That's my newest goal. I'm announcing it here. And
that'll make it more likely that you'll actually pursue it.
You do have to say it. You have to speak it, you have to write it, and you have to tell everybody you know. And I'm on Craigslist looking for it.
Oh.
Yeah, I just had a near-miss opportunity that I won't go into. But that's the other thing. You take these chances, and then something happens and it doesn't work out, and so then you have to regroup.
Uh-huh. Yeah. So what kinds of players are you looking for?
Well, you know, the usual round of suspects of piano, could be piano or guitar, bass, drums. I mean, a full working band would be ideal. So, but otherwise, you can put together a band too. So those instruments that I just named. I'm going to a lot of jams, they call them, jams to try to meet other musicians.
So a jam, though, is where you would actually perform?
You perform, and there are other musicians performing too, and the hope is you'll meet people that are maybe looking for a singer or whatever. But being in a band, it's a little bit like a marriage. I mean, you got to like them too.
Yeah, and you were in a band when you were younger, right?
Much younger. Yeah. It was called Women and Children First. I was in my early 20s. It was fun.
What's the meaning of the title?
I have no idea. The guy who started
Women
it, he
and
just
Children
named it.
First.
We liked it. There were 2 women. One of them had a child, not me. And then there were like 6 or 7 guys. I have no idea why he named it.
Big band then.
It was big. It was in Santa Cruz, California. It's kind of like every person's dream in a way. It's a rock and roll band.
So did you travel around with that band?
Not really, just around Santa Cruz. Just around Santa Cruz. We played in venues in Santa Cruz. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. So you're a risk taker, you're competitive, and you're very physically fit and active. And if you think about yourself when you were growing up, did you see yourself in that way?
I was always physically active, and I wanted to be physically active. But when I was in my 20s, I was not active at all, and was really out of shape. So, and then really, it's the running that put me at the top shape. Not that I'm in top shape, but put me in the best shape I've been in, and it's because of the running that did that, which I enjoy. I like. I mean, I feel better.
Yeah, you feel better when you're active.
I feel better. I feel better being fit. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot to do. You might as well try to maximize your energy, et cetera, to do it. That just sort of makes sense to me.
Yeah.
As you know.
Yeah. So we shouldn't stop today without mentioning that, of course, we had this terrible situation at the Boston Marathon this year. Yeah. So how was that for you?
I was watching on Commonwealth Ave in Newton, and near Heartbreak Hill, we had 4 runners from our team running in it, and some had gone by, not all. So we were concerned. We were concerned that whether any of them had gotten hurt or any of their onlookers. So nobody was hurt. Nobody was hurt. But I mean, I think my reaction is probably similar to a lot of people, really. I mean, maybe just a little bit heightened because I'm a runner, but mostly I think I just had the same terrible feeling and went through that everybody did. And I live in Newton, right near the place where the person was caught, et cetera. So I just, it seems like that because it happened at the Boston Marathon, now they're expecting it's going to be huge next year and everything. I mean, there's this big turnout because of that. Yeah.
Not going to let them
Right.
get us down, huh?
Right. Yeah. And then there's 5,000, a little over 5,000 runners that didn't finish, and they're still trying to figure out what to do with those people.
Yeah.
Whether to give them a medal or what, or
Yeah.
Training for a marathon. I've never run a marathon. I've run half marathons. Training for a marathon is a big deal. Yeah. So.
Yeah. Okay, Leni, we're going to have to stop. So I'm so happy to have met you and to hear all about this.
Thank you, Karma,
all
for
that you
interviewing me.
do. It's
Thank you.
fantastic.
Good. It's been fun.
Okay, so join me in another couple of weeks when I will have a new guest for you on Alivelihood, New Adventures as We Age.